Hey everyone, Ryan Young, KAATARO Jiu-Jitsu. I actually have an Instagram private message that came to me a while ago, guy asking me to do a video on this particular topic, and I meant to do it, didn't get around to it, but figure I'll do it today. So this particular user wanted his, person wanted his identity concealed, which is fine, it's not a big deal. Anyway, I wanted to know your thoughts about some professors and coaches not coaching their students during their tournaments, especially the local ones. I get it, they have families and a life of their own outside the gym, especially when the professor teaches 95% of the classes. It's very exhausting. Looks like this is a common thing I see during tournaments. I also know there are students paying the higher monthly premiums. As a student, you would expect some support during tournaments. To me, having a corner could mean the difference between gold and not placing in a tournament, and maybe affecting, I guess, the student-instructor relationship. Again, I really do understand why some professors can't make tournaments. So let's kind of go with this one. I think this is a pretty good topic because it's something that's come up for us here at KAATARO Jiu-Jitsu. Now, does an instructor need to attend tournaments of their students? Need to? No. And like this particular person had mentioned, because we all have lives of our own, and that there has to be life outside of work. Our family and leisure things and all that, just to kind of let us recharge after being in the studio for however many hours during a week that we're in there. However, it kind of comes down to what you promise to your students, right? It's all about the promise and then the delivery. As many of you know, I've been in sales for many, many, many years. Now, sales is not something that's all that special or original. It's something that we all do to a certain extent, right? Think about it. You got a job. You went to interview for a job. You had to sell yourself to your employer. Right? They had to buy you is what they're doing. And they're buying you every day when you go into work because they're paying you for your service and you're doing your job well, so they keep buying your service, right? So when it comes to running a school, if you tell a person signing up that if you want to compete, I will be there for you, then you have to be there for them, right? Because you have to deliver your service. So let's say I say, yes, I will be at your tournament, but this particular student wants to compete every 2 weeks. Then that means that in order for you to deliver the promise that you gave, now it doesn't have to say, you don't have to play technical and play and say, well, I didn't promise, right? I just said I would, right? What's the difference, right? If you're going to say you're going to do something, in my mind, you better do it. So if I say I'm going to be there for your tournaments to get you to sign the dotted line and sign up for, whatever premium membership you signed up for, I think he had mentioned something about that, then yeah, I need to sign up, right? I need to deliver on what I promised. Otherwise, I'm not fulfilling my end of the bargain. That's one. And another thing is a lot of schools, they're the sport schools, right, as we call them, competition, BJJ schools, they market themselves based on competitions. So in that case, the competition is really part of their business. It would make sense for them to be there for the tournaments for their students. Then that way they can at least do their business model. And that's why I tell you, it really depends on how they market themselves. If they market themselves as a sport/competition school, and when you walk in to sign the dotted line, you see on the wall all their medals, then you're being given the impression that the whole purpose of training here is to become a competitor and then to hopefully become a champion. And seeing all those medals up there, and you're telling me as a selling point, that's why I want to be at your gym, school, academy, whatever you want to call it, then if I sign up for that, that's what I'm looking for. I kind of expect it. So in that way, if your instructor does not show up for your tournaments, I'd say that's not right. even though he does have a life, or he wants to have a life. You know, for people who run schools, the school is our life. Right? Outside of jiu-jitsu, I spend a lot of time doing jiu-jitsu. I mean, even in my social time outside of jiu-jitsu, a lot of it is spent with the friends I've made that train jiu-jitsu with me. Now, on the other hand, if I'm telling everybody, if part of my business is competition and marketing that, then I need to allocate a certain amount of hours in any given week to spending time at the competitions. Just like I would need to allocate time to running a class, I need to allocate time to being at a tournament for my students. Now, Kama Jiu-Jitsu, we're not a competition school. Does that mean we don't do them? Absolutely not. We do them. It's not something we do very often, though. In a busy time period, we might do 1 1/4, maybe 2 1/4, but that's really about it. Every time I get a student that tells me, hey, I want to compete in a tournament, what we try to do is we try to make it a school event. Not like a regular, not like a class. A class is not an event. A class is an appointed time that you have something going on and you're teaching. But when I say an event, I try to get other students who are looking also to compete as well, right? There's going to be a tournament on June 12th. I've got a couple of people that expressed interest in the tournament and competing in it. Are there any of you who also were thinking of competing? If so, this would be a good time because both Master Dave and I will be there to support you and cheer you on, right? So that way, there can be an expectation that I will be there to support and coach our students. At the same time, the students can now compete. Now, if it's a student who wants to compete regularly, I tell them right off the bat, especially the ones that come on board asking, do you guys do competitions? We do them, but it's not, and I say exactly what I'm going to tell you, exactly what I tell them, but it's not a regular thing that we do. If competition, regular competition is what you're looking for and you're expecting a level of support from me, then there are a ton of other schools that might better support you in your endeavor. I just tell them straight up because I don't want to be that instructor who breaks his promise in telling somebody I will be there for them and not showing up, because I just don't think that's a good thing to do. And I've had people say, thank you for your time, thank you for being honest, and yeah, I'm gonna go and take your advice and go look at some other schools. And I've also had some students who said, well, I'm just wondering because, I may want to compete. I don't expect you to be there every time because I really want to learn Kama Jiu-Jitsu, but I just want to know if you do have people that compete and, every once in a while, will you guys put a team together and have a gathering, an event or whatever? Absolutely, we do that. And for us, the volume of competitors, that's a good amount, maybe 6 to 10. That's really about it. We never walk in with a big team, but we do well, like I've mentioned in other times. I mean, we have taken 3rd place team and 4th place team where, almost every team is bigger than ours. Most schools come in with more than 5 to 10 guys. It's all about expectations and setting them correctly. So if you run a school, I know how tempting it is to tell your prospects, your prospective students, hey, competition is what you want to do, and I'll be there, for you to support you. So sign the dotted line and join my school. Just realize that if you're going to do that, you better show up. And if you don't show up, expect you to lose a lot of students, because I have seen it to where students will be at a tournament and nobody shows up for them, right? There's nobody sitting in the chair in the corner for them, right? We've got several instructors, and a lot of our instructors will go to support. And at that point, there's always going to be somebody in there, and we'll even strategize. I'll go, okay, so-and-so, I will take John's match. Who can take Dennis's match if they happen at the same time? Another instructor goes, I can. All right. So you're going to do that. But I'll go and take John's match. And if I finish John's match early, I'll go run over and I'll cover Dennis's match in your place. Like, okay, that's cool. So we do have a strategy set forth so that we can support our members and always have somebody coaching them and cheering them on, because I think it's important myself. But since, you know, my goal is to provide that level of service to my students, this isn't something that we could do every week, every 2 weeks, and maybe even every month, right? Because in order to get that kind of coverage, you think about it, if you have 8 competitors and each competitor does, say, 3 matches, that's 24 matches that somebody needs to be at. And it definitely is not something that I could be at. And I do not like to have to give up too many weekends for something like that, because tournaments don't always run on time. There's a lot of hurry up and waiting, and it's just boring to me a lot of times, except when the matches are going on. And when I'm, you know, hit with their rules, you know, that's, you know, I had a student who lost due to advantage, and it's only because the opponent attempted something. Like I said, you know, many of you guys know I'm just a broken record here, you know. It pisses me off that you can win without winning. But anyway, that's tournament. So that's why it's not the biggest thing for me. I'm not really into that, but I will show up if I tell somebody I will show up. So the point of this is really, if you're an instructor, you're a school owner, if you're gonna promise you show up, show up. On the other hand, if you're a student, I would just not get my hopes up too much, because people always disappoint, and it's better to put yourself in a happy position and not be disappointed. You know, if I'm in your shoes, here's the way I look at it. I want to compete, whether my instructor says he's going to be there or not. I never expect him to. I hope he's there, but I never expect. And when I think in those terms, I'm always happy, because I'm happy if he shows, and I'll still be happy if he doesn't show. Like I said, I hope he shows, but it's not going to ruin my day if he doesn't show. So that particular person who sent that message to me, you know, saying how it's a difference between, you know, a gold or not placing or not medaling or anything, I don't really believe that's true, because what's going to happen when a coach is coaching you, right? You know, there are some important things that a coach could tell you, but at the end of the day, all your preparation is done well before the moment you step onto the mat. You either know the shit or you don't. And for those people who I see where their coach is telling them what to do step by step, right? You know, put your hand away, or put your hand in the collar. Ooh, choke, 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 triangle, triangle. You know, it's like, come on, right? There's 2 people on the mat, and the other one is the opponent. He hears exactly what you're saying. All you need to do is just do opposite. Unless you have some kind of code in which you're talking to your student and telling them, every time I tell you to put your hand in the collar, you know, grab his leg, right? Something like that, right? I used to have a friend who was a dog trainer, guard dog trainer, and he would have these dogs that he would have guarding warehouses at night. He would drop them off at 5 p.m. when everybody left the building, and he'd go and pick them back up at 5 in the morning before they showed up for work. But these dogs were trained opposite, which means that if you told the dog to quiet down or to shut up or to stop barking, it would bark. And if you told the dog to bark, he wouldn't bark. It was kind of the funniest thing. Or, you know, common command with dogs is when the dog bites, then you yell out, and the dog releases. Well, those dogs, if you told the dog out, it would bite harder. That's the funniest thing. But, you know, that's just kind of, you know, if you and your students have that type of code going so that your opponent won't know, then, you know, then yeah, that could be helpful. But in reality, if you don't know what you're doing, having your coach yell at you and tell you what to do is not going to help you. You know, if anything, your coach, maybe he just encourages you and you need that. But anyway, try to temper your expectations as a student, and as a coach, try to temper what you promise, and then everybody will be happy, and we won't have this disappointed person messaging me on Instagram asking me to do a video on it and asking my opinion on it. Anyway, We are KAATARO Jiu-Jitsu. We have 3 studios, one in Irvine, California, one in Flower Mound, Texas, and one in Austin, Texas. Come visit us soon if you're in the area, or come visit us at KAATAROJujitsuOnline.com. You can see all our curriculum and our training videos on the website. And hopefully by now, the app is already set up for both the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Like and subscribe, and if you like it, share it. I'm sure other people want to know this as well. Take care, happy training. Bye now.